Hello and welcome to Course your car brochure channel, and in today's episode we're going to have a second look at the Volkswagen Scirocco. Hello and welcome back. Now if you're new to Quarterlight, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and sometimes beyond that as well. So if you're interested in cars, car brochures, looking back at cars gone by, all about bringing back those memories, then please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free, and we all like free, don't we? It's the best price not to pay. Anyway, back to today's episode. This particular episode was first aired on a Tuesday, and what we've been doing over the last few weeks on Tuesdays is looking back on brochures that we looked at when Quarterlight was just about starting to form, so over 2 years ago, the last time we looked at this brochure for the Vauxhall, not Vauxhall, is it? The Volkswagen Scirocco Mark 1. Now we changed things a little bit around on these videos. I actually didn't mind the original version of that video, but we'll talk about that in a moment. We'll start by throwing this on the board. Sorry, is today's brochure quite a plain front, but you find all the brochures for Volkswagen at this time all came in a different colour, all with the name across. They look quite plain on their own, but you can imagine all the different colours, all the different Volkswagen range, all on the sort of shelf or stand at your Volkswagen dealership. I think that would have looked absolutely fantastic. Anyway, like I say, we have looked at this brochure before, but over 2 years ago. So certainly a long time ago now. At a time when we were really trying to work out what we were doing. And to some extent, I'm still trying to work out what I'm doing, but that's beside the point. But we've been looking back at brochures from over 2 years ago because we've changed sort of like camera techniques, etc. I will do a link to this brochure at the end because we kind of like look at it differently now in many ways. Originally, this particular video got 526 views and made $2.25 to date. So actually, this was one of the better performing videos at the time, and who knows, I may not get 526 views now. We'll kind of like see, but we can now zoom in on the brochure. We can pick up key points from the brochure now where we couldn't before because we didn't have that technology. But you'll notice if you watch the original brochure review, even though we can't really look at the brochure itself in any great detail, we'll see there's a lot more facts about the Scirocco. So this is the Mark 1, of course. This is 1978 when actually for the UK, and this is a UK brochure, there was only one model of Scirocco, the GLS. I think this is from the beginning of 78. Let's just flip the brochure over. Yes, January 78, I thought it was. So yeah, very early on in 78, this particular brochure. But we'll turn the brochure back over and we'll open the first page. And then we turn the page and we get a lovely image of a Mark 1 Scirocco looking fabulous in silver. I think it looks really nice. Like I said, just one model here, the Scirocco GLS, the Civilized Sports Coupe. And I guess we should also give a little bit of a nod to the brochure. This brochure is from 78 and it's held up very well. I'm sure it held up better than the cars themselves, of course. It is in pretty good condition actually for the age of the brochure. What we'll do this time, we'll have a look at the text on the bottom here and then we'll zoom in on these images for a closer look. So we started off talking about the great design, of course, here. This is the Scirocco 78, Giugiaro, the uncontested authority in sports car styling, gave the Scirocco its unique aerodynamic shape. Now with tough new bumpers which merge into it perfectly, now with the further enhancement of new wraparound indicators. Now with the added distinction of matte black central window pillars and it lives up to its looks in performance with a transversely mounted 85 bhp 1.6 litre engine giving 0 to 60 in 11 seconds and 109 miles per hour top speed. The elegant, comfortable interior of the Scirocco mocks the Spartan sports cars of old, with carpeting and seat upholstery in matching shades, and with deeply cushioned, firm supporting seats finished in wide cord cloth. There's also a practical side to the Scirocco. A large tailgate which opens up a sizable cargo area, even more sizable with the rear seat folded forward. Sporty looks and performance, Volkswagen reliability, all in one civilised car, the Scirocco 78. So here it is. I do prefer the Mark 1 actually. I think that is the nicest looking in my opinion. Obviously everyone's got their own opinion on these things, but I do prefer the look of the earlier ones. Moving down to the smaller images, this was the first image actually, reminds me a little bit of a BMW actually. Moving along, it gives little details, have a look at those handles. I presume this is showing a bonnet crease. Those rather nice wheels. And a little bit of the styling of the bonnet shape, the boot shape, or the hatch shape I should say. I quite like that sort of slope at the rear actually, I must admit. Not as keen on that fuel cap there, I'm not a big fan of that, but look at the tail lights, they do look nice. It also shows us of course how it's badged, of course, the Scirocco GLS. If you notice though, these main images, this and the next page, are showing the Scirocco without the standard alloy wheels for the GLS version, even though it shows you in this small print, which is weird. And we'll also show something else when we get to it, but let's turn the page. And then we turn the page and it's more of a sort of rear shot, rear side shot, because of course it's kind of like promoting the fact that it's a hatchback. I think Volkswagen were clever, they're always pretty much there with their hatchbacks, and I left a few companies behind with that, because really this was starting to become the time in Europe when people really did want a hatchback, and we've got the combination here of a sporty looking coupe with a hatchback as well, which was of course a great idea. We'll have a look at the text as well like before, and then we'll come back to these images. It tells us the Scirocco is first and foremost a sleek, elegant sports coupe. It looks the part, it performs the part, but it also has discreetly practical side at the rear via a large tailgate. Closed, it does not detract from the car's beautiful lines. Open it and all of a sudden it's a small but remarkably spacious estate, a carrier of large loads even with a full complement of passengers. With all seats up, it offers a generous 12 cubic feet of load space. Fold down the rear seat backrest and the space increases to 31.3 cubic feet, which is big enough for that adorable Louis XV table. I'm not sure that's... Can we afford that? It's an unusual thing to throw in for a Scirocco. Incidentally, that wide opening tailgate, once open, stays open by means of a gas-filled stay, so you won't have to hold it open with your head when both hands are full. There we go. Scirocco, a beautiful way to carry people or things. So really these little images are really showing the hatch and what you can put inside, but also quite nice to see the styling and the badges and the lights on the back there. But open it up. We'll notice though, certainly one of the older designs, when these older hatchbacks, they sort of had this very high lip, so a long way to bring things up, but that was added rigidity back in the day. That's why they used to do that. And then, was it water skiing that they put in the back there? Suitcases, antique furniture. There we go. And then again, back to that main image. But like I say, overall, I think this was a hatchback at a time when people wanted hatchbacks. So, yeah, I think that was a good time to do that. Look inside, we've looked at the dash there, looking very sporty actually. A little bit of the Wolfsburg crest in there as well. Typically Volkswagen, but overall quite a nice sporty looking interior for the time actually. We'll have a quick look at the text, we'll come back to the images. The Scirocco is the kind of car every automobile engineer wishes he had designed. It incorporates a level of technical sophistication, often found only in more expensive counterparts. Take the superb handling for instance. It's all down to a suspension strut front axle with wishbones and the unique self-stabilising steering with negative roll radius. The what? It tells us, well, let's put it this way. Say you were in a situation where at speed you managed to get one wheel off the road and into the soft shoulder. With many cars, you'd have to fight to keep out of the ditch. With the Scirocco's self-stabilising system, you'd stay on course when braking. At the rear is an equally sophisticated trailing arm torsion beam axle to ensure accurate tracking and stabilised driving. All designed to keep you on the straight and narrow. Scirocco's performance is provided by its effortlessly powerful 85 bhp 1.6 litre engine with 5 bearing crankshaft, an overhead camshaft and an electrically driven fan which cools only when cooling is required. Putting a stop to the Scirocco is a safe, straightforward matter thanks to the diagonally linked dual circuit braking system. Controls, as you can see, are comprehensive, easy to see and always at hand. Technically, this car has but a few rivals. Further little details and showing these extra gauges and clock variously. Little bits of details on the interior I guess, and it ends with quite a nice little engine shot. Going back to the dash, yeah, we've got a rev counter on there by the looks of it, but remember this is the GLS, so it was a higher spec Scirocco even though this was the only one available in the UK at the time. Not overladen with equipment, but nevertheless for 78 not too bad. Turn the page, it shows the seats themselves which don't look too bad and we'll come back to. Text here inside the Scirocco, some comforting facts, let's have a look at those. It tells us sports coupe interiors just don't come any more civilised than the Sciroccos. Let's start at the bottom of things. The seating is superbly designed and upholstered, adjustable back and forth, up and down, and in the rake angle of the backrest. Full foam padded body. Contoured seats that hold you firm in tight cornering situations and that prevent fatigue on long journeys. Head restraints on the front seats for extra safety. Of course, head restraints weren't really given in the UK at this time. Speaking of safety, the Scirocco has a foam padded steering wheel, rim and dashboard. Computer program crumple zones to absorb initial impact. A steering column that gives way in the event of a collision. Steamy summer or icy winter conditions outside. The highly efficient heating and ventilation system of the Scirocco keep things mild inside. There's a 3-speed blower that can mix fresh and warm air in any proportion. Variously adjustable louvers direct the airflow to wherever it is needed. Comfort and safety, 2 prerequisites of efficient driving. The Scirocco has plenty of both. And then we can see that integrated headrest. And you have various different, oh there we go, we got the armrest, a little bit of a look at the door card. Seats, and we even get a little bit of a glimpse of that small rear seat. I wouldn't say it's the most exciting interior, but it does look well put together. Turn the page again. Scirocco, a sports coupe for today. Just basically saying at the bottom here, you know, it's fantastic to drive in town or in the country. So I don't think we need to really look too much at that, but maybe I'll just glance over these images. And quite unusual little images they are too. Not sure whereabouts these were actually shot, but if you can actually recognise this, please do jot it in the comments. Looks like an interesting road. Various tiny little shots of the Scirocco on the road, of course. And actually they did this for, I think, pretty much the full range of Volkswagens at the time, this little theme of these little images. And kind of like ending where the actual car itself is actually slowly getting closer and closer to us. But an interesting photography. It must have certainly took some work to get all these little pictures. Pretty much a full day of driving round and taking pictures, probably more even. So we turn the page then, and this is where it tells us it's just one version. So Scirocco in one version only, GLS, which means luxurious. Nice. Let's have a look what makes it luxurious. So here it starts justifying why there's just one model. It says this year we're offering the Scirocco in one version and one version only, GLS. We're sure you'll agree with us that anything less than the specification we offer would do the Scirocco an injustice. As standard, the GLS offers a choice of 6 distinctive metallic colour finishes. We'll have a look at the colour range at the end. To keep out daytime sun glare, you are surrounded by bronze tinted windows, while at night the way is brightly lit by twin halogen headlights, adding to the elegant sporty appearance of the Scirocco's exterior or handsome alloy sports wheels. On the practical side, the large tailgate window is served by a wash wipe system. Inside the Scirocco GLS is all that you would expect. Superbly upholstered seats, which are not only adjustable back and forth, but also up and down. Plush carpeting everywhere, even partway up the door panels. The fascia and steering wheel are in matching colour shades. Finally, a word about the power in front of the GLS. It's a 1.6 litre engine developing 85 bhp at 5600 rpm and takes the GLS all the way up to 109 miles per hour. The Scirocco GLS lives up to the expectations inside and out. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, of course, when we looked at the first couple of pictures, it didn't have the alloy wheels on. Now on this image it is showing the alloy wheels, but if I zoom in, I'm pretty sure they've been edited on there. I don't think it looks like that really belongs. They're sort of like, particularly when you look at the colour of the tyre with that little bit of a reflection on there, doesn't look right. That looks like it's been edited. So overall I think that is a alloy wheel that they've just stuck on there on this one, which surprisingly didn't do the same with the others, but there we go. I guess they decided it didn't matter too much. I'm also going to say the same about the front end as well. So this is like a recently facelifted model with the wraparound indicators on there and the more wraparound bumpers. So I think the indicators and that larger bumper on there has always also been added. So this was probably an earlier pre-faced lift model and they've kind of like updated it, in my opinion anyway. So we turn the page and really this is all about, you know, owning the Volkswagen really. Owning a Volkswagen has always had its advantages. This particular page with all these small images, again, on all the brochures at this time they did this. Obviously changing the car in the scene, of course. So here showing the Scirocco, talking about quality, Volkswagen warranty, Volkswagen service, Volkswagen insurance. Warranty on these was 12 months unlimited mileage, you know, service, large network, etc, etc. Let's just have a quick glimpse through these images, I think. So looking like it's arriving at the service centres, I'm assuming. Pictures alone and the fashion tells you it's the 70s, of course, but rather pleasant little scenes, I think. Certainly very dated scenes though. and continues as such. The technology, I'm sure, was like, wow, look at all that technology in those pictures when the brochure comes out. Now looking very antiquated, isn't it? Also, the observant will also note that these models in these little images are the pre-facelift models without the wraparound bumpers and without the wraparound indicators. So interesting they've included them, but I guess that would have been a big job to take a picture of all these, and probably even bigger job to kind of edit every picture, because they are indeed all showing the pre-facelift model. Well, that then takes us up to the back pages. Here it's talking about specifications. Next page is interior and colours, so wait for that. We will look at the interiors and colours. We'll certainly glimpse of these specifications though. Let's see what we can see. So it starts talking about the bodywork, all steel of course, and it starts talking about crumple zones. The engine is a 4-cylinder inline with a 1.6 litre capacity, mounted transversely. And we've got a carburetor with automatic choke. I never liked automatic choke in the 70s. I don't know how Volkswagen worked, but I always preferred a manual choke on these older cars, I must admit. So it works out as a 1588cc engine, 85 bhp at 5600 rpm. Takes us then to the transmission. So the gearbox is a fully synchro-meshed 4-speed gearbox, which I think is probably what we would expect at the time. Looks like you could also option it for an automatic, a 3-stage auto gearbox. It's showing there as an optional extra. Talks about the suspension, independent suspension with struts, lower wishbones and telescopic shock absorbers. At the rear, independent suspension with torsion beam trailing arm axle and telescopic shock absorbers. Steering is as you expect really, rack and pinion, turning circle 33.8 feet. Brakes are discs at the front, drums at the rear, but I think you would expect that as well. Tyres size is there, and it's on a light alloy sports wheel. Some of the dimensions, really, I'm not going to really talk too much about that. The weights and the capacities. Some of the safety features, again, I'm not really going to talk about that. We're going to move on to performance. So performance, the top speed of the manual is 109, automatic tops out at 106. 0 to 60 time, 11 seconds for the manual, 12.5 seconds for the auto. But I think overall, for what it is, I don't think that's too bad for 1978, to be honest with you. It also gives some miles per gallon figures. Unusual figures are given it, so it's doing it a steady 50, which is a bit unusual, so that's probably the best it could do. 50.4 miles per gallon and a steady 50 for the manual, 46.9 for the auto. Weirdly doesn't really show a mixed figure, which is a little bit cheating a little bit there. Oh, mind you, it does say fuel consumption under good conditions, 37.6 miles per gallon. Is that what it's mean as being a mixed? Sounds about right, doesn't it? Auto transmission 35.2 under good conditions. So possibly the best you could expect under mixed driving. I guess that's sort of a get out clause, isn't it? Because you probably can't get those figures. It then starts listing the standard exterior features. Unfortunately, it does fall on the crease, unfortunately, but I think reasonably well spec'd. I'm not going to read them all out, but such things as rear wash wipe, heated rear window, alloy sports wheels, bronze tinted glass, integral front spoiler, twin halogen headlights, etc, etc. We also get a twin tone horn and PVC underbody protection. Internally, we get fully reclining front seats with integral headrests, special wide cord cloth upholstery, wall-to-wall carpeting, very nice, and a folding rear seat. The list continues with more luxuries like variable heating and ventilation system, padded steering wheel, a rev counter, brake warning lights, as well as such things as a trip mileage recorder, oil temperature gauge, an electric clock, safety armrests, parcel shelf. So like I say, it was pretty well equipped. Like I said, this is just the GLS model, but like I say, I don't think that was badly equipped for 1978. You could get further optional equipment on there as well, like that auto transmission, a laminated windscreen, 2 halogen fog lights, and a rear fog lamp. Obviously, before the days of having to have a mandatory fog lamp on UK cars. And then it goes and tells, as well as those factory options, there's going to be a wide list of optional extras that your dealer could put on there: fog and spot lamps, mud flaps, radio cassette installation, tow bar, roof rack, etc. And then that takes us to the upholstery and colour combinations. So let's have a look at the upholstery first. It looks like 3 variations: cloth upholstery, Genoa cord. You could have it in black, parchment, or sienna. And of course, with all cars, you couldn't just pick which interior colour or interior seat colour you had. It would often depend on which colour you went for. So the colour range at this time starts with Mars red and Brazil brown metallic, Ancona blue metallic and platinum metallic, a pearl metallic and a silver metallic, and then finally a what they call a colibri green metallic. So a lot of metallics in the range. Looks like the Mars red was the only colour you could get as a non-metallic, i.e. all the others would have been a cost option extra. I like in some ways how they do the colours with these, showing the car, but they aren't a really good match with the actual colour. I think brochures like Austin Rover and British Leyland used to do a really good colour chart. These a little bit harder to see what the final outcome would be on your car. And in fact, all the Volkswagen range at this time did these little pictures of cars with the colours, as did the Audi range actually. And then finally it gives you this little chart here and tells you what colours came with what interiors. So for example, Mars red came with a parchment interior, pearl metallic came with a sienna interior, and silver metallic came with a black interior, etc, etc. So those interior colours did depend on your exterior colour. And then that takes us to the end of the brochure. Like the front, just a plain red back page, the Scirocco, ask for a test drive. And then finally ending with the small print at the end there, bit of a brochure code printed in Germany. Specifications subject to change without notice, 178. So there we go, the 78 Volkswagen Scirocco. Do you remember these? Did you own one? Do you still own one? Please do jot in the comments, let me know how you got on. I think surprisingly, like most 70s vehicles, I think rust was an issue even for these German cars. 70s wasn't a great time for rust resistance in general, I would say. But anyway, let me know how you got on with these wonderful cars. And certainly thank you for watching, but we'll end by saying, as we always do actually, please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free. And notice, these are alloy wheels on that one. Interesting. Anyway, but thank you so much for watching today. I'll add a couple more boxes up here for further episodes you may want to have a look at, and I'll try and remember to include the original brochure review for this particular one. I think we put a bit more details in there about the car, but less about the actual brochure, but that's how we used to do it. But thank you so much for watching today. Please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free, of course, so keep that in mind. Very much different than becoming a member. I think people get that mixed up. Subscribing is free. Membership is a very small fee. That's more to do with if you want to support the channel, help the channel grow. Because actually there's always a cost in making these videos, even though I like to keep them free for everybody. But I do appreciate those who have become a member, because it really does help greatly to continue going. So thank you for those who have become a member. If you do have become a member though, I'm not giving you a great deal at this time, but certainly I'll answer every one of your messages, and if you do suggestions, I'm more likely to take them up, because we get so many people asking for various different brochures to have a look at. It really is impossible to please everyone, unfortunately. But thank you so much for watching today. Please do take care. We'll see you very soon, and goodbye.